try not to be too serious most of the time. Let's face it, I try not to be serious at all 90% of the time. And I say that because I want to be serious for a minute, but not too serious. I can't tell you exactly why, because I don't exactly know. But I've always been annoyed by the term Asian cinema. Asia, the continent, encompasses a pretty large percentage of the planet. There are almost 50 countries in Asia. Asia can include places like India, Turkey, and Iran. I name those countries specifically because they all have film industries that are recognized globally, but none of them normally falls under the Asian cinema label. I think just maybe that when people talk about Asian movies or Asian cinema, they're not necessarily talking about all the countries in Asia. Chances are they're probably talking about Hong Kong, China, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, and if we're lucky, Thailand. Maybe even Indonesia, thanks to the Raid movies. Like the other countries I named, these are film industries that have global attention, and I'm glad that people watch those movies. But for the sake of this channel, I only watch about 3 of them, and 95% of the time just one, Hong Kong. So when people say that I do Asian movie reviews, it just kind of bugs me, because I don't feel like being part of, well, the problem. Which in part at least comes from this habit people seem to have of homogenizing a very large group that have very different and very distinct languages and cultures. They also have movies that are very different from one another. I guess one reason that it really bothers me is that it doesn't seem to happen to other places. We don't hear the term European cinema, and if you're really having a boring cocktail party, just try and tell somebody that actually all movies from Europe are similar enough that you could just lump them all together. People will get really bent out of shape, and I know because, perhaps unsurprisingly, I've done it. And I admit that I did it because I was bored and I wanted to see what kind of reaction it would engender. Now, it helped that the person that I said it to had just said something wildly inappropriate and or dumb about Asian cinema. It also doesn't help that Hollywood certainly participates in and perpetuates this problem. See what I did there? I mean, here's an example. In Bulletproof Monk, don't watch it, just don't. Chow Yun-fat plays someone from Tibet. The geographical distance between Tibet and Hong Kong is approximately the same as the distance between Italy and Sweden. I checked. Now, imagine Roberto Benigni in a movie about Vikings. Don't get me wrong, I would totally watch that movie, and so would you. Even so, you can hear the howls of outrage already. I can also smell the cigarette smoke and the delicate odor of fresh croissants, but let's move on, shall we? I'm not trying to be a SJW or a bleeding heart liberal, which is still better than being a bleeding steel liberal, but that's not my point. Google the phrase European cinema expert, and then do Asian cinema expert. One of those phrases is apparently a lot more popular than the other. There's a reason for that. So please, for my sake and for the sake of literally half the people on the planet, stop and think before you say Asian cinema. It just doesn't make sense geographically. And if you do feel that you must continue saying it, do me the favor and start dropping European cinema too along with it. Seriously, I would appreciate it if people just took a little more time and were a little bit more specific and just stopped using a term that's completely inappropriate for what it's most often used to describe. Then again, some people think it's inappropriate for me to review Chinese language films. I don't even speak Asian, right? Please feel free to leave a comment below, but if you do, please make sure that it makes sense. If you enjoy the channel, please subscribe. Have a nice day.